Hey guys, Sister Lisa here. Today I wanted to talk about planning because that's something that my husband and I have definitely gone into as of recent. Trying to figure out what are we going to do from here and things like that. And I want to point out it's always good to plan, whether it's short-term plan or it's long-term plan. One of the practices that I've basically picked up, that I've seen my husband do a bunch of times is write down your goals, whether it's your goals for the day or for the week or for the month, and things like that. And as you go forth, you tick each one off. And I know this is not anything revolutionary because people has been doing it for forever, but it for someone who's never really done it, or I've always thought of doing it but I've never really followed through with it, it really is quite effective in getting you to not only remember the goals that you have to do, but in completing them. Because if you have them right there on paper, then it makes it a little bit more real, and you can say, oh, the day is over and I forgot to do that, or anything like that, because you would have it on written down, and you would have it to refer to if you need to go over what you have to finish for the day, or week or month, or however you're planning. So in planning, we know that there are definitely biblical backing for us making plans, and having them achieved. So when planning, especially right now, I want to talk about more of like a long-term goal. So you want to know, like, what goals do you want to accomplish, or what goal do you have in mind that you want to accomplish. So the first thing you do is, you ask yourself, what do I want to do? What do I want to have accomplished? And we know whenever we get that out, we have to do as Proverbs 16 verse 3 states, that you have to commit it to the Lord, and he will establish your plan. So whenever you figure out what you want to do, you want to put it forth to the Lord to say, hey Lord, this is what I want to do. This is what I would like to achieve, and I know I can't do it on my own. So I'm asking you to basically just bless the work of my hands and establish my plans, right? So then you look into, what do you need to be successful, right? And Psalms 127 verse 1 basically sums it up in saying that unless the Lord builds the house, the builder labors in vain. So unless your plans are established and, basically built on the foundation of the Lord, we know that it's basically not gonna be very successful, or it's not going to last for a very long time. And we know this based on, if we look at the parable of the builder, and you have the foolish builder who built his house on the sand, and then you have the wise one who built his house on the rock. And we know that which we knew, if you are familiar with the parable, the one that built his house on the sand, when the storms and the rains came, and beat against the house, it crashed, it fell down, and the one who built his house on the rock, everything came at it, and it stood the test of time. It stood, and we know that the rock is in representation of Jesus, and building your house, and making your plans be established in him and by him, and so whenever we build anything and have God be our foundation, then if he's blessed it, no one can do anything to tear it down, because as we know, whatever God bless, no man curse. So if we build if any plans is established with God, through God, then we know that it will be successful, right? And so you always want to make sure that God is at the center, because if you look at Psalms 20 and verse 4, it says, may he give you the desires of your heart and make all your plans succeed. Not just one or two, but all your plans succeed. So we know right off the bat, hey, if I want to be successful, God has to be in it. And if you want to look in the world, every single successful person, believes in God. They do believe in God, and they will tell you that, hey, they have their own way of worshiping him or and everything, but we know as Christians that he is the center of our being, and we're not compromising on that. You know what I'm saying? That's who we live by. That's who we whose rules and regulations that we follow. And so at the end of the day, if he's in it, then we know that it will be successful, right? So we also want to look at at Proverbs 15:22, which states, plans fail for lack of counsel, but with many advisors they succeed. Now we want to look at the advisors part, right? So it says, with many advisors your plans succeed, but when you make plans and you put forth to some people and they give you, they tell you that it's never going to work, right? But here's the thing though, when you look at it, is that advice or is that their opinion? So there's a difference. There's the difference between advice and opinion. So it might be their opinion that something will not work, but what's their advice? How will they help you to succeed? And those are the only things that you should be listening to, is the ones who want and are willing to help you to succeed. We don't need naysayers and to tell us all the how many ways that it can go wrong. Don't get me wrong, those quote unquote advice is also beneficial because it helps you to look at things from many angles, so you know exactly which way to go and which way not to go. So don't completely cut out, the naysayers. You want to hear what they're saying, but you want to make sure that your plans are established with God, and that's who you're trusting in, right? And you want to surround yourself with people who want you to succeed, who are willing to help you succeed. Because a lot of times when we ask people for advice and they tell us how it's not going to work, but they never give us advice about how it could work or what we should do, they always say, oh, it's just not going to work. But that's not really advice. Again, that's just your opinion. So whenever we have goals and we have plans, yes, we definitely want to ask as many people as possible, because we know that people have different lives and they might have gone through something similar that we can learn from, you know what I'm saying? So we definitely want to get their input, and the more people that you ask and the more people that you express your plans to, then the more information you could gather, and that's just going to help you in the long run. So you can have advice and from many people who've either been through it, thought about going or thought about doing it, or whatever the case may be. And you want to make sure that when you have plans, and especially their plans for the future, big plans, that you get as much advice as possible. But again, weed out the good from the bad, but look at every side, you know what I'm saying? And so we definitely want to make sure that in all things, the only true advice there is the advice of the Lord. And if he says go, that's all there is to it. You go. All right. So then of course you want to ask yourself, why do you want it? You know what I'm saying? We always have goals and things that we want to do, but why do you want it? What is it for spiritual uplifting? Is it to make a better future for you, for your family? You want to help out your community? We definitely want to ask ourselves, why are we doing this? Why? Because if you don't know why you're doing it, then you could get lost in the mix and you'll end up just quitting if it gets too hard. So you definitely want to know why you're doing it. Okay. And so in Proverbs 21 and verse 5, it tells us, the plans of the diligent lead to profit as surely as haste leads to poverty. So you want to look at that. So it's good, to pursue your goals, pursue your plans, but you want to make sure that, as I stated before, you have as much information as possible, because we don't want to rush into anything. Because whenever you rush into anything, that's where we end up in trouble, and we definitely don't need that, right? We definitely don't need that. So if we also look at Proverbs 3 and 6, it says, in all your ways submit to him and he will make your path straight. So if you submit your plans to the Lord, right, and you trust in him, he's not going to lead you wrong. He's not going to lead you wrong. Because sometimes we look at it, on the outside, and we're like, oh, but this isn't what I had in mind, or this is so and so. But if we trust in him, he's not going to lead us to something that's going to cause us harm, right? So we have to trust in the Lord, and we have to know that he's going to make our paths straight. All right. And it segues right into my next point. Trust God. Trust God. Above all, trust God. He knows what he's doing, right? And we are the ones that are just looking at things on the surface. That's right here. But he sees all and he knows all. And so he's going to make sure that everything works out. And so we look at Proverbs 19:21. It says, many are the plans in a person's heart, but it is the Lord's purpose that prevails, right? So you might have plans. You might have your plans and you say, oh, this is how I see it going, and this is what I want. And the Lord might lead you another way, and you're like, wait a minute, but this isn't what I had in mind. This is not what I wanted. But in the end, if you persevere and continue and be diligent in your walk, he's gonna lead you exactly where you want to be. You want it to be, if not even better and more successful than you even thought, that you wanted for yourself, or where you were going. So in all things, we definitely want to trust God. And of course, above all, we want to thank God. You want to thank him while you're going through. You want to thank him in the beginning, before you even start your plans. You want to say, thank you, Lord, for giving me victory in my plans and my goals. You want to thank him in all things, right? Because 2 Chronicles 15 and verse 7 says, but as for you, be strong and do not give up, for your work will be rewarded. Yeah. So you will know, keep going. You know what I'm saying? And thank God in everything. As Jeremiah 17 and verse 7 states, but blessed is the one who trusts in the Lord, whose confidence is in him. So be confident in the Lord. Thank him through everything, and we definitely know that he will make our plans successful. He will definitely make our plans successful, right? Because who are we without the Lord? Right? We are like chaff, right? And so we definitely want to know that everything that we do is definitely established by the Lord, and he will definitely give us the desires of our heart. So once again, I want to thank you guys so much for staying with me and for watching my videos, and please subscribe and just share, with a friend or a coworker, right? God bless. Peace.